All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
All right, welcome everybody. The Monday night after the Super Bowl. Welcome to another episode of Bring It. I am your host, the Big Dog, and with me is the president of a sad Who Day Nation today. My man Jai said he'd come on whether they won or whether they lost, and he's a man of his word. So Jai, welcome back, man. How you doing?
Big Dog, again, like I said last week, man of my word, win or lose, I was going to come back on. You get like the more and more like the loss like kind of lingers within you. You kind of get to that stage of like acceptance, like it is what it is. Next season, this, that, and the other. But I tell you, last night I was sick, absolutely sick, and numb, and I don't know, when I'm ever going to get over it, if I ever will, until they win a Super Bowl. So.
You know, it's funny. It's funny. We were out of friends and we were watching the game, and I'm like watching that second half, and you tweeted out right after the Tyler Boyd drop in the third quarter, or you said, you quoted Han Solo. You said, "I have a bad feeling about this," and I tweeted you back. I'm like, let's think positive. And yeah, that was one of the major turning points in the game. But we're gonna go through this thing through and through. Basically, it was a good game. It wasn't a great game. It was a good game. It was definitely a lot of defense. A lot of interesting things happened. The Bengals' Achilles heel, basically, in my opinion, is what got them in the end, and that was their offensive line. I mean, we talked about it last week, and their offensive line just didn't hold up to Darnold and Von Miller.
100%. And Coach said it last week. He said that one of the reasons why he gave the Rams the edge was because of the fact that the Bengals' offensive line, he wasn't confident in the fact that the Bengals' offensive line was going to hold up against against Aaron Donald and Von Miller and that vaunted Los Angeles Rams defense. And lo and behold, he ended up being proven right, along with a bunch of other people that picked the Los Angeles Rams. And it's just, you got, the clock struck midnight on them. And the thing that's more frustrating than anything is that it wasn't like that Aaron Donald and the Rams, dominated the Bengals offensive front for 4 quarters for 60 minutes. There's a lot of comparisons people make to the Tennessee Titan game. Well, Tennessee Titan game, they sacked Joe Burrow 9 times, but that was over the course of 4 quarters. All throughout the game, the Bengals offensive line in that game 3 weeks ago was dominated and was just overpowered by the Titans pass rush. Compared to yesterday, where I think they may have sacked Burrow maybe 1 time, if that, throughout maybe 1 or 2 times at the most in the first half. And then outside of that T. Higgins touchdown, that was, pass interference, offensive pass interference penalty, should have absolutely been called in all objectivity. You take that play away, the Bengals offense was stagnant. They were not good, and outside of that one particular play, first play from scrimmage to begin the second half, the Los Angeles Rams defense was immaculate essentially the rest of the game, man. It's just you cannot under any circumstances play the way you do in a Super Bowl. I'm sitting up here watching a game and Chris Collinsworth is like, we haven't, and this is like midway through the second quarter towards halftime, and Chris Collinsworth is saying, we haven't really said much of Aaron Donald's name yet tonight. And then, they have the long halftime, 1 play, and it's like it all goes up in smoke. So their offensive line, we knew it was going to be a huge Achilles heel and a huge factor. heading
Right.
into Sunday's game, and we knew that Donald and Von Miller were going to be the X factors. And if the Rams, had a substantial chance of winning the game and beating Cincinnati, if there was anything that was going to stop Cincinnati in their tracks, it was going to be Von Miller
Mm.
and Aaron Donald. And it ended up, turning out that way. What can I
Yeah,
tell you?
no, it definitely did. It definitely did. That the third, basically from the middle of the third quarter on, basically in my opinion, from the wait, why is that doing that? Yeah. From the play where Joe Burrow ran out of bounds and Donald hit him, pushed him out of bounds, and it was a legal hit because he was still in bounds when he pushed him. That seemed to fire up Aaron Donald, and all of a sudden he just went on a rampage after that. I know Collinsworth and Al Michaels talked about that yesterday. I basically want to try to go through the game, as efficiently as possible.
Right.
The Rams, lose the coin toss, but Cincinnati defers. A lot of teams do defer, try to get the ball in the second half. They not really successful, basically almost a 3 and out. They punt. Cincinnati gets the ball. They go for it at midfield, 4th and 1. They don't convert the 4th down. But you like that call. You like them being aggressive right away, right? If I remember, I saw you tweet that. So when they made that call,
100%.
you were like, okay, he's going for it, right?
100%. I loved that decision by Zach to go for it in that situation. The game had not exactly decided. The two teams were still figuring each other out. It was very, very, very early in the game. It wasn't established. Is this going to be a defensive slugfest? Is it going to be a high scoring shootout? Like, not that wasn't concrete yet. The
Mhm.
two teams on both sides of the ball, the Rams offensive defense and the Bengals offensive defense, were still relatively getting their feet wet in the terms of figuring out how this game was going to play out. And
Right.
midfield, 4th and short, it's the Super Bowl. Why not go for it early in the
Right.
game? 4th and short in midfield. Why not? Bad result, but
Right.
no issues with going for it. I love that decision. Sending a right message. It's a Super Bowl. We're going to be
Mhm.
aggressive. We're sending a message to the Rams that we're not here to play around. That we're not just happy to be here. We're looking to take this from you guys in your own building. And no problems with that decision to go for it on 4th and short whatsoever.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that gives the Rams a short field. They drive down, and a lot of people were saying, and actually Drake had that big bet on Odell Beckham being the first guy to score a touchdown. Drake bet
He
half a
did.
million dollars on that. You saw that, right?
He
You
did.
saw
Yes,
that,
he did.
and so he was the big winner yesterday. I mean, but it was Canadian dollars, so it might not have been worth as much. You
That's
never know.
true.
But they drive
Yeah.
down a short field and they score. Rams go up 7-0. Cincinnati gets the ball back, they punt. Rams get the ball back, they punt. Cincinnati gets the ball back, they drive down, they get a field goal with probably the second best kicker in the league right now compared to Justin Tucker, because McPherson's really putting himself up there for sure after this
100%. Had a
playoff
had
run.
a had a perfect playoffs. What he went like
Yeah,
go 14 for 14. I mean, he was just
exactly.
absolutely sensational.
He's established and he's justified the draft choice they made in him, and definitely solidified his spot as one of the top clutch kickers in this league. And then the Bengals get the ball back. They drive down 75 yards, and they run a halfback option play, and they score a touchdown on that. Now, when you saw that play developing, what's going through your head? Like, he's like, halfback option. He's throwing it. Probably half of you was like, whoa, and half of you was like, oh, no, no, no. I want to know what was going through your head when that play was happening.
I mean, it's like the offense was just like it was just stagnant for Cincinnati. I mean,
Hmm.
you gotta be able to put points on the board in the Super Bowl. You just the whole game was just like, I'm sorry.
Hmm.
It was just so frustrating to watch. And it was funny because I'm sitting there watching a game and people like it really doesn't feel, and family was sitting there watching it with me, like it doesn't feel like it's a Super Bowl. And it's like, when you think about it, you're all hyped because
Hmm.
of the fact that it's the Super Bowl and got a chance to win the NFL championship and 100 million+ people going to be watching on TV. And then you go through the pregame ceremonies, everything else. And then the game kicks off, and like after like that first possession both ways, it feels like a regular, normal football game. And I don't know if you realize it. I at least thought when Joe Burrow was coming out of the tunnel that he looked pretty loose, because I don't know if you saw, but like his shoulders were like moving like this when
Yeah.
he was kind of vibing a little bit when he was walking down, when
Hmm.
he was walking up the tunnel about to get introduced. But then like they looked very tight offensively to begin the game, and it was kind of like I don't know. I mean, they looked tight. I mean, thank God it didn't stay tight for long, and then
Right.
but I mean, they should have ran more halfback passing plays. To be quite honest with you, I mean, the fact that the fact that they just it was I mean it was there for the taking, but boy were they. I mean, you wouldn't have thought that they only lost. What was the final score of the game? Like 23-20, whatever it was. I mean, you
Yeah.
would have never thought that. I mean, they lost by 3 points, but you left that game with a mindset of, jeez, I mean, they left a lot left to be desired on that
No.
football field, and they only lost the game by a field goal, which is
Right.
just the crazy. I think Big Dog also another thing too is that these are not historically when you talk about all time great Super Bowl teams. These
Yeah.
two teams are like
No.
bottom of the totem pole in the last 56 years in the Super Bowl era of like tremendous football team.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It's just both teams did not play well. I can tell you that. Like
No.
no one team dominated the game for 60 minutes.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, obviously the Rams had, the injury issues. Odell goes down, and that was an ugly replay. Why they kept on showing it is beyond me. Once was enough for me seeing his knee pop out like that. I did kind of feel bad for him. He had worked hard to stay healthy, and for him to get hurt like that. Tyler
Yeah.
Higbee was already out, and apparently their second tight end gets hurt during the game. They go down to their third tight end. But what was interesting is when the Rams scored their second touchdown, the missed extra point, which loomed large for a while, because if you saw the score differences, I think when it was 20-16, and I know we're pushing
Yeah.
ahead in the game, the mindset of 20-16 to 20-17 is a whole different mindset. I mean, so that definitely played a factor in the end of the game, which we'll get to in just a little bit.
Right.
But then Stafford throws a typical Matt Stafford interception, winging a ball out, getting an interception. Since you're like, okay, Cincinnati's got a turnover, and they go 5 plays, 7 yards, and they're out. And then the first half ends at 13-10. So now we're at halftime. Let's move away from football and talk about that dope AF halftime show. Because that was like, that was like growing up, that Snoop and Dre. Snoop and Dre were my guys. I'm not a big hip hop guy, but Snoop and Dre were my guys growing up. And that was just dope, man. I loved every second of that halftime show.
Yeah, halftime show was something. I mean, I won't forget. Like Sunday, February 13th, 2022, is a permanent etched day in my mind that I will never soon forget. But that halftime show in particular, man, I mean, that was one of the best halftime shows I've ever seen. I mean, off the top of my head, last night, Super Bowl 50, Super Bowl 48, Prince are my top 4 favorite, or top 5 if you want to include Justin Timberlake back in the Eagles Patriots Super Bowl 52 in Minneapolis.
Right.
But those are my favorite ones of all time. It's like the music and just the vibe, the nostalgia piece, the songs. I mean, these are classic hits that they're playing. I mean, it was just absolutely fantastic. The set design was unique. I like the fact too that they also, because typically, you get the halftime show, it's typically pitch black, about dark, when it's halftime. And they kind of take advantage of that because they shut all the stadium lights off, and it has a very dark kind of concert-y vibe. But I've noticed that Super Bowl and the Super Bowl 50, the two most previous Super Bowls played in California, where it counted as an afternoon Super Bowl with a 3:30 local kickoff time. They did a very good job of using the daylight to their advantage, especially with that one, because they took advantage of the fact that it was still daylight outside. They had the bright white colors on keyboard, and it was real nice. And and having Snoop Dogg and DRE rapping their old classic hits.
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar, who's just an absolute stud, rapping "We Gonna Be All Right." And then I got Slim Shady coming up there. perform one of my favorite songs in the history of music and Lose Yourself, and then Mary J with Family Affair, one of the queens of R&B. I mean, it was. I mean, I don't understand how, if you like music, I have no idea how you could not like that halftime show. I mean, it was just absolutely sensational. And one quick thing too, I've seen about the first Super Bowl I can remember sitting down and watching was Colts Bears Super Bowl 41 in February of 07. And I've seen a lot. I've seen Beyonce, Bruno. That is the first time that I have ever watched a halftime show where I'm sitting there at the end going, "That's it? That's it? Like, you guys is going to do an encore? That's it?" I mean, I could go on for another 15, 20, 30 more minutes. Like, that's it. Like, because they have so much more. I mean, they just scratched the surface on like their popular songs and just like what I got 50 Cent popping in, singing in the club, hanging upside down. I mean, it was just absolutely. I mean, they just scratched the surface on their popular, well-known mass hits, and that's saying something, because I'm a Bengal fan watching my team play in the Super Bowl for the first time in my lifetime, going into halftime down a field goal, and not me like, all right, back to football mode. Let's see what Joey B and the boys cooked up during the 30-minute halftime. I'm like, screw this, let me hear Dre, DRE, Slim Shady, and Mary J for another 20 more minutes. I mean, and that is the first time I've ever had that reaction coming out of a halftime show. I just wanted more. I couldn't get enough.
Oh no, it was absolutely great. I'm gonna tell you a little thing. My wife's best friend's husband, Mark Klopper, was the lighting director for the halftime show. So all the lighting, he was the head guy. He was the guy running all the lights. So I'm sure when he lives in Atlanta, so I'm sure when he gets back to Atlanta, he's going to have some stories for us. So I cannot wait to hear those stories. Should be interesting. Did you see there was a video of Snoop lighting up right before the show? He was sitting on the set. Did you see that? Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, hold on, I'm gonna give you a hit right quick.
Exactly.
And then he just comes on the stage, and then he just comes off the stage just vibing. I mean, that was music royalty right there.
Oh, it was great.
If you didn't like that or appreciate that, there's something wrong with you. I'm sorry.
It was definitely great. Definitely great. All right, let's get back to the game. So second half, Cincinnati gets the ball, touchback, 25-yard. First play from scrimmage, down the left side. T. Higgins interferes with Jalen Ramsey. When you saw it live, it didn't look that way. And then you saw the replay, and you saw he clearly put his hands on his face mask. Ramsey trying to get the call, no call. Obviously, Bengal fans are all like, oh, all right, first play from scrimmage, 75 yards. We're up. We're winning. Obviously they review every touchdown. Now I'm wondering if they review the touchdown, why they wouldn't call that back. I mean, wouldn't they see that in the tape, or are they just trying to see if he crosses the line with possession?
That's one of the inconsistencies when it comes to the NFL and like their replay system. They say, all the touchdowns are reviewable and the turnovers are reviewable and everything. Well, in the sake of all objectivity, in the sake of the Rams fan, if all touchdowns are reviewable, why isn't it in the rule book where if a wide receiver scores a touchdown and it looks like that he committed offensive pass interference or offensive pass interference in the act of trying to catch the football, resulting in a touchdown, that should be automatically looked at. They look at it like any other, was he in bounds? Was he not out of bounds? Like those type of reviewable borderline touchdown plays. I don't understand why they can just say, touchdown, stand, rule on the field, touchdown. If you're not going to call a penalty, just call it a touchdown. And then go out there and say, previous play is under further review to confirm the touchdown. They look at it. They see that not only did he grab and shove Ramsey and throw him to the ground, he also grabbed his face mask. You come out of the thing, you take the flag out, pass interference, offense number 85, grasping the face mask of Ramsey, want to be specific. What is? I think is it a 15-yard penalty? Offensive pass interference. I think it is off. Touchdowns off the board. Repeat repeat first down and have it at a 1st and 25. How you doing? Keep it moving on to the next thing. Why that's like not in the rule book again speaks to just the NFL's pure incompetence and just sheer stupidity when it comes to their rule books and their officiating. But I don't understand. I mean, it didn't look like it live. So I didn't see any pass interference. I just saw Ramsey go down to the ground, ball in T. Higgins' hands, touchdown, and I went crazy. I was like, "Oh, holy crap!" I mean, they must have gotten inspired by Lose Yourself or something because they just came out here all guns blazing. But I don't understand. Video review. Look at the replay guy. All this, they got this ginormous Samsung little scoreboard ring, sitting, hovering over the stadium. You got the Microsoft tablets and 9 billion cameras that NBC has for the broadcast. Why isn't it in the rule book that, hey, on plays like that, that's, touchdowns are quote unquote reviewable? Why not just go back and look at the touchdowns?
Right. Yeah. Well, who knows if it's even a challengeable call? We want to welcome in our producer, Tony. Tony, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us. Tony's in Ohio. So, Tony, before we keep going with the game and get your views here, what's been the vibe in Ohio today with the Bengals losing?
I mean, everybody's definitely sad for the most part, but I mean, it's also one of those, Bengals fans kind of came in knowing this, like this was not an expectation at all. Like pretty much the fact that they A, went to the playoffs and then they B, won a playoff game for Cincinnati fans, they were pretty much riding that for the most part. I know Jai is actually a Cincinnati Bengals fan. So, I mean, really anything at this point, this season is still a success. The Cincinnati knows the future is bright. You have a great young quarterback. You have a great, wide receiver. Well, actually a core of great wide receivers in, Boyd and Higgins and Chase. You have a phenomenal running back, and honestly, you have probably one of the most underrated defenses out there. Of course, right. the man that's getting roasted like nobody's business is, of course, Eli Apple, to his own fault though, because he decided to talk smack throughout the entire postseason, and he got burned for it.
Right. But he got burned by one of the best receivers in the league. So you got to, if you're gonna get burned, if you're gonna get burned by Cooper Kupp, I mean that's not okay. A lot of people got burned by Cooper Kupp this year.
But this is also the same guy that said, "Hey, I know OBJ. Put me on OBJ, and I'll have him on lockdown." And up until he got hurt, nobody had OBJ on lockdown. So if anything, Eli should just be toast because he's getting burnt constantly. Right. That ain't happening. But no, I mean, overall, Ohio fans overall, I mean, they're sad because they didn't win, but again, happy because they know the future is bright. And I really think about it. Other than the Ravens, can we really sit here and say that the Bengals really should have to worry about, their two other rival teams in the division? Because Pittsburgh doesn't have an answer at quarterback, and really the Browns don't either. Mm-hmm. And they just watched their, star wide receiver that they released in the middle of the season go win a Super Bowl ring. So, I mean, really for Cincy, it's bright right now.
Oh, no doubt, Tony. All right, so we're gonna move on with the game. So it's now 17-13 Cincinnati. The next play from scrimmage, Matthew Stafford throws another interception. Not his fault. Curley tipped off. They have their 4th-string wide receiver in there. Tips off of him, goes to Cincinnati defender. Cincinnati gets the ball back. All the momentum is with Cincy at this point. So I'm going to go to Tony first. So, Tony, you're thinking, Stafford's got 2 interceptions. Are we going to have another typical Matthew Stafford game? I know that's going through my head at that point. What were you thinking at that point?
Oh yeah, when I saw that happen, to me the first thing was this: depending on what Cincinnati's able to do with this is going to completely turn the entirety of the game. If Cincinnati's able to score a touchdown on this game is essentially over. I knew Matt Stafford being who Matt Stafford is, the fact that he has been the comeback king really the last probably 4 or 5 years, even spanning back to when he was in Detroit. Matt Stafford was great at being able to lead those fourth quarter comeback drives when the game actually mattered. But when I saw that, though, I was like, man, I'm waiting for Cincinnati to capitalize on that momentum and move that forward. Because if you think about it, what did everybody say for the most part this entire week? Cincinnati could not let the Rams get ahead of them and then have to play from behind. So what did Cincinnati do? Cincinnati came out and was aggressive and stayed aggressive. They were only ever down at one point by the first initial touchdown, and then after that, it was never more than 3 points. So,
Right.
For Cincy, they came out and they made sure that they went after it. And when I saw that interception, I was like, this is Cincinnati's chance to really make a statement of, even though our offensive line is terrible and Joe Burrow is going to sue his entire offensive line for what they did to him, doing him dirty, the Bengals are still here and they're still relevant in this game.
Right, exactly. But now this, to me, Jai, this is one of the key drives because they go 8 plays, 11 yards. The 3rd and 3 at the Rams 11. They're down at the Rams 11, about to get in the end zone. This is where Burrow gets sacked for the first time for Aaron Donald. And this is a point where they could have gone for the jugular. They could have put the ball in the end zone, put this game basically the way they were playing defense almost out of reach. They end up settling for a field goal. It's only a 7-point game. So at that point, you're probably thinking, all right, as you've stated a lot during these playoffs, they're leaving points on the field. I've seen you tweet that all through the playoffs. We're leaving points on the field. And again, you're probably saying the same thing there too, right?
100%. I said it in the Raider game when Trey Hendrickson strip sacked Derek Carr and Larry Ogunjobi fell on it, and that red zone drive, an absolute gift in the early stages of the first quarter against the Raiders. That drive only resulted in a field goal. And the Tennessee Titans game, he had a Jesse Bates interception, first play from scrimmage, and only I think it resulted in a punt, if I'm not mistaken. And if I'm getting them confused, it didn't result in more than a field goal. Mike Hilton on a little batted down screen pass intercept against Ryan Tannehill 3 weeks ago. What do? They don't even put any points on the board. Samaje Perine can't catch a cold and off his fingertips and get the ball right back to Tennessee. And Kansas City game, BJ Hill interception. BJ Hill, big man interception, only get a field goal out of that. I mean, just all postseason long. And one of the things that has worried me and what's been a concern for Cincinnati all throughout the last 4 playoff games is leaving points on the board coming off of turnovers. In the winning the turnover battle is one thing. Capitalizing, and this is what I learned coming out of yesterday's game, is that you can win the turnover. That's fine. And not turning over the football is great. Not putting the ball on the ground is great. Not throwing interceptions is great. Not having passes deflect off of wide receivers' hands into the hands of the defenders is great. And that's great, and that's a positive. But it means nothing if you win the turnover battle and yet no points come out of it. It's almost as if those possessions don't even count. Because you're getting chance after chance after chance and time after time after time, every single gift after gift after gift after gift, and you can't put the ball in the end zone. Super Bowl championship football teams find a way to put the ball in the end zone and scoring touchdowns, not field goals, not 3 and outs, touchdowns off of turnovers. Especially given a short field, championship teams know how to do that, and the Bengals, they're not a championship team, sadly, and for them not to be able to put the ball in the end zone twice off of 2 Matthew Stafford interceptions, and ended up being one of the reasons why they lost. You've got to be able to put the ball in the end zone. When teams gift you turnovers and give you the football and give you free possessions.
Exactly. So they settle for a field goal. The Rams drive down. They kick a field goal. It's now 20-16, not 17, 16. We talked about that missed extra point, how that was going to be crucial there. The next 7 possessions are all punt possessions, 4 by Cincinnati, 3 by the Rams. The last punt possession is from Cincinnati. And this is, to me, as we talked about earlier, one of the plays of the game. On the 3rd and 9 of the Cincinnati 40 was 6:22. And you talked about this with Chris Russo today. The pass up the middle to Tyler Boyd, he drops the ball. Why? Because he turns to go upfield before the ball gets to him. It's right off his pad. And I turned to my buddy and I said, watch what happens after this play. I said, that's going to be the biggest play of this game. And it ended up being, because if you watch the way the play was going, his momentum was taking him forward, and he either would have gotten the first down or been damn close to that first down. So, Tony, did you have the same reaction to that play that I did? I
yeah.
know Jai did because it was all over his Twitter page. But
Yeah.
did you?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I mean, and you can think about it. I mean, I've seen countless NFL games where you'll see that happen. A team kind of starts to get that momentum, they get the drive, and it does. It's just one of those crucial momentum killing plays that again, like you said, had he focused a little bit more on catching the ball rather than going upfield, we would be we could potentially be talking about a completely different end result right now as far as the ball game goes.
Right. No, definitely. And that was one of those plays where, Jai brought it up on the radio today. And, that's one of those plays you make a mental note, you write it down, like, key play of the game. And it's like it's going back to the first Super Bowl I ever saw. And I'm dating myself here in 1979, the second Steelers Cowboys Super Bowl, where Jackie Smith drops the ball in the end zone.
Yeah.
He catches that ball. Cowboys probably win that game. Same thing. Tower Boy catches that ball. And we talked about Tower Boy last week and how crucial he would be in the slot. We talked about him.
Yes,
and when they went to him, I'm like, all right, slot, boom, boom, misses the ball. So they end up punting. And then the drive, and then this is where Chris Collinsworth went off the rails, as we all heard. He's like, oh, this is the greatest drive. No, it wasn't the greatest drive, Chris. Calm down. But
right.
let's talk about the end of the drive and the penalty calls. Now, the refs basically left their whistles in their pockets most of the game. There was a couple of personal foul calls on Cincinnati. One was on the touchdown where the player who wasn't even suited up came off the sideline. I don't think that guy's going to be on the roster anymore, but we'll see what happens. He shouldn't have been there, period.
Yeah, I'll sound off on him in a minute, but
yeah. So and then the two calls. Now, John, I'm going to turn to you. The defensive holding call. In my opinion, it was a ticky-tack call, but do you think it was a makeup call for the missed offensive pass interference at the beginning of the second on the beginning of the second half on the T. Higgins touchdown?
If it was, then that's a joke and that's a disgrace. You're not supposed to officiate football games that way, let alone Super Bowls. You call it right down the middle. If you miss a blatant penalty, fine. Don't make it up for something ticky-tacky. And that's the thing that really not just bothers me, but bothered probably a lot of neutral fans that are just pure football fans watching the game last night. That you let something as egregious and clear as day as the T. Higgins offensive pass interference, you let that go when it was clear to everybody. Now, granted, we had to look at it on replay first,
right?
Because I got to be honest, watching it live, I was like, well, what did he do? I just saw Jalen Ramsey hit the ground, and that was it, touchdown Cincinnati. But looking at it on the replay, it was clear to everybody and their mother that he shoved Jalen Ramsey and grabbed his face mask and essentially pulled him down towards the ground. You let something as clear as day, you let that go, and yet ticky-tacky holding penalties, you call that, especially if you go back in the championship game 2 weeks ago when T. Higgins had his arm pinned around his back when one of the Bengals' earlier red zone possessions in the first quarter of the Chiefs game, and he nearly had a one-handed catch and tried to essentially have to catch a football with one hand because he had his other arm pinned around his back. And whatchamacallit also held chase about a play or two later during the sequence of that same drive against Kansas City as well, not crying over spilled milk, but my God. I mean, two blatantly, obviously missed holding calls inside the red zone in a championship game 2 weeks ago. You don't call a penalty on Jalen Ramsey for holding on to Jamar Chase. And then it's like, Logan Wilson, he a little hand fighting, but he didn't grab a Yankees jersey. He kind of had his hand on him, patting him down, kind of guided him towards the ball almost. And it was like a slight tug, but it didn't alter his route running ability or affecting him catching the football. No. And they throw a flag and they throw a flag on it. That is perfect defense. Logan Wilson gets out in front of it, gets his hand, swats it down. All of a sudden, you see that stupid flag going in the middle. That's why I didn't celebrate. I was incomplete, and I'm sitting there holding my breath for a flag, and then here it comes. And I literally, I swear, as God be my witness, I didn't get upset. I didn't start cussing at the TV. I stood there in silence. I was like, This is how this game ends. This is how this game. This is how it ends.
Right.
On two facets. One, the absolute atrocious, disgusting, putrid, incompetent, disgraceful ref ball that has been on the display all entire NFL season with these dopey officials putting their beaks into the game. I mean, how many times do we have to keep on going through this path?
Right.
Guys, especially in playoff games where championships are on the line. How many times we have to explain to you fools that keep your beaks out of the game? If you're not going to call anything and quote unquote let them play for the full 60 minutes. Don't let them play for 58 minutes and don't let them play for 59 minutes and 30 seconds or 58 minutes and 25 seconds. They let it go nearly the entire game, and then they felt during the Rams' final drive that we gotta inject ourselves and stick our beaks into the game and start blowing the whistle and throwing the flags. I mean, are you kidding me? Over stuff that over plays and over quote unquote penalties that weren't egregious, that were not flagrant. If we're gonna let them play for the full 4 quarters. Swallow your whistle, put your whistle in your back pocket, stay out of the game, keep your flag in your pants. It's enough. How many and it's not just the fact of me being a salty Bengals fan. This is me just speaking as a football fan, because I have seen way too many games that involving my Bengals and not involving my Bengals where these officials they don't know which way is up, and they stick their beaks into the game and they ruin it. They ruin the flow of it, they ruin the vibe, they ruin the mood, and it leaves you with a bad sour taste in your mouth, feeling like you got gypped. But you got gypped by piss poor officiating. I mean, we're not gonna call a freaking thing, and all of a sudden it's a flag fest. I mean, seriously, the Rams didn't need any more help refs for allowing Cooper Kupp to single-handedly march up and down the field on the Bengals defense. Eli Apple getting burned by Cooper Kupp every single time you turn around. Trust me, the Rams didn't need help in that aspect. Keep your beaks out of the game and stay out of it.
And this is why I love Jai. I love his passion for the game, and I love his knowledge, man. I love it. I love listening to your rant like that. It's great. Everyone, listen to his podcast. You're going to get even more of that tomorrow. You're going to drop tomorrow, right? New episode drops tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, wait till you hear tomorrow's show. I cannot wait to hear that podcast. And Tony, as a Cowboy fan, you can sympathize with the flag thing a little bit for sure.
Oh, to no end. I can tell you as a Cowboys fan, I can tell you watching a lot of Detroit games. When I tell you when I was sent up to Detroit to give out the vaccinate, when I was deployed to Detroit to give out the vaccinations to people, I remember I asked, because they gave us a grand tour of the stadium. Like we got to go to locker rooms, got to go in the tunnel, and in the tunnel there's a skyline of Detroit with the words "Detroit versus everybody," and it's trademarked. And I remember asking the guy, he's like the vice president or something like that. I was like, hey, why do you guys have this trademark? And he goes, well, because we started to notice that it was like every time we turn around, and even as a Cowboys fan, I can say it, that 2014 wild card game when Anthony Hitchens completely blown, defensive pass interference call. And even the Megatron, the Calvin Johnson, the process of a catch, Detroit was like, it's us versus everybody, because we always get crappy calls and they're always called against us for the other team. So yeah, I mean, I completely agree with Jai. This has been something that's been going on really for years, and I would say it even goes as far back as when the NFL officiating had that lockout, and we had those temporary officials, and that super big controversial moment with Green Bay versus Seattle of was the catch an interception. And I feel like from that point forward, everything as far as officiating has gone is just down the toilet.
Right.
100%. And it's just so. And listen, I'm not trying to make it sound like that the Bengals haven't been officiated from piss poor officiating, whether it's the whistle in the Raider game. And the fact that they essentially kind of covered their hide and let the touchdown stand, although by rule they had to replay it down. And there was a tad dubious officiating going on at the end of the first Bengals-Chiefs game on January 2nd. But speaking as a Bengal fan in that moment last night, with a championship on the line, It's ridiculous, and they're doing this with Roger Goodell in attendance. You think Roger Goodell would be bright enough and would be smart enough, in between shrimp cocktails with Russell Wilson, sit there and say, "Hey guys, we got 100+ million people watching this thing. We're sold out 70,000 plus people up to the brim. It caught charging people an arm and a leg to get in the damn place. Can we not have our championship, have our super? We finally got a decent Super Bowl coming down to the final minute of the game, something that we haven't had since Eagles Patriots about 5 years ago. Like, can Goodell sit up here and say, "Hey guys, okay, we come here and we all do it. You guys do a nice job. We come here to watch the talent on the field. Okay, if the game's tight and it's a physical, emotional football game, championship, to be won and lost, keep your behinds out of the game. Okay, unless it's something flagrant, a la the T. Higgins offensive pass interference, you just let it go. You just let it go. That was not holding. Again, the Rams did not need any help with marching down the field during their final offensive drive. And I tell you this, and this is the last thing here. Vernon Hargreaves, if it was me, Vernon Hargreaves, Vernon Hargreaves in a hoodie and street clothes, socks and slides, coming off the sideline, jumping and gyrating over really in a Super Bowl. Really? let me tell you something right now. If it was my football team, my team, if I was Zach Taylor, if it was me, if I was the head coach, I'd have told him, you, come here. Get your ass, gather your crap, get your ass in the locker room, go back to Cincinnati. I would have kicked him off the sideline, out of the stadium, made him walk to LAX in his slides, and made him pay for his own freaking flight back to Cincinnati. That is a disgrace. And again, it's like that same old thing, being a Bengals fan, dealing with their many years of futility, making, with that syndrome, making it feels like that you think that the franchise is cursed, because it's like they picked the worst possible time to act like fools. The worst possible time with it kind of sort of gave me a little bit of vibes from the Steelers playoff game in 2015, with just the stupid, dumb, unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. I'm like, you guys are supposed to be buttoned up. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, stay on the sidelines. Like, no.
Exactly. Yeah.
You got to think too, Jai, real quick to your point. When was the last time we've ever seen Roger Goodell actually be a leader for the actual league? Because you think about it. Look at all the stuff that happened with Colin Kaepernick. He didn't really do anything. He never really does anything until he gets a public uprising of hey Roger, you need to look into this. Think about it. This whole thing with Brian Flores. Roger didn't say a word until it was hey Roger, this is an issue. Oh crap, my bad. Okay, I'll take care of it. Same thing with COVID. Hey Roger, this is an issue. You need to take care of it. Okay, I'll take care of it. And it's going to be the same thing with now officiating. I feel like he's been a little bit more okay, I hear you, and then he sweeps it under the rug until it becomes a major issue and boils over, and we either have another lockout like we did, or eventually these teams say, hey, we're not going to do this until this officiating gets better, which isn't going to happen because they unfortunately need money. But I know that's my big thing that aggravates me with Goodell is Goodell should be a leader, and he's more just a puppet on strings to me.
100%. He a bag man for the owners, and standing up to the owners is one thing, but the ownership has nothing to do with the referees. That is one little particular avenue of power that you would think that Roger Goodell would want to exercise when it comes to the officiating, because this isn't TV contracts, collective bargaining. This is extending the season, added playoffs. That's none of that. If anyone within the NFL can be on the same page on one thing with the bad officiating, it's the fans, players, and the ownership. You think Mike Brown and the Blackburn family like the fact that the refs decided to stick their nose into the game during the Rams' final offensive drive in the red zone? Or how about Gail Benson and the Benson family in a 2018 NFC Championship game where they didn't call that a pass interference penalty that should have. How about that game? You know, yes, she's a billionaire. Yes, she has power. Yes, she's part of that NFL ownership group. But you think she like that? Like, you would think that in the one little element where Roger Goodell doesn't have to worry about pandering to the owners when it comes to handling officiating, you would think he would kind of like flex his muscle of like, oh, look at me, big bad commissioner Roger Goodell, let me flex my power muscle, and he doesn't do it, and it's disgraceful and it's shameful. You would think because no team owner, no team GM, no head coach, no player, no fan wants in a sequence of a Super Bowl, once that game marred or interrupted or ruined in essence by piss poor officiating. Nobody wants it. We want a clean game, let it flow smooth, like they called it for 58 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's get to the end of the game real quick. So we talked about the penalties. Cooper Kupp has a great drive where he wins his MVP, and we'll hopefully have time to talk about whether he deserved the MVP or not. Cincinnati gets the ball back, starts driving down the field. 2nd and 1, they go for a long pass down the right sideline. It must have been a miscommunication. Chase pulls up. Burrow thought he was going down. 3rd and 1, they try to run the ball with their backup running back. Now, Jai talked about this on the radio too. Why Joe Mixon's not in there? It almost reminded me of like why Seattle didn't run the ball at the goal line against New England. You know, it's like same. Why aren't you in beast mode there? Same thing. Joe Mixon's having a good game, is getting penetration. Why did Joe Mixon has the ball? 4th and 1, they go 5 wide. There's no one to help block. Burrow gets, pushed around, throws the ball in the air, incomplete. There's your ball game. Now, Jai, I know you talked about the play calling here. Now, obviously, the 3rd and 1 call isn't a bad call, but obviously the wrong personnel's in there. But the 4th and 1 call is definitely, to me, the bad call, because on 4th and 1, where you still have, they still had like 2 timeouts. I think that 2 timeouts left. Like 40 some odd seconds. You've got one of the best kickers in the league. All you need is to get another 10, 15 yards. They could have easily ran a better play call there, Jai.
100%. And it's like, Zach, I mean, what are you doing? 2nd and 1, you decide to take a deep shot down the sideline. I mean, get the first down. My goodness gracious. Like, Zach, stop overthinking it. Just get the first down. And again, 3rd and 1, why in God's name, with a championship hanging in the balance, is Samaje Perine on the field instead of Joe Mixon, who had a hell of a game in the Super Bowl, who's an all-pro Pro Bowl running back, who has multiple, not one, but multiple 1,000-yard rushing seasons underneath his belt. And he's on the sideline, and Samaje Perine is in the game. I mean, you must be kidding me. It's like Zach. It's like part of me like looks like a fool and has my hand raised and I wanted this guy fighting to the team to the Super Bowl. And then he has moments where his naysayers, whether it's in the present or in the past, look like geniuses because he goes ahead and he pulls stupid crap like this. And then 3rd and 1, and then 4th and 1. Nobody can block Donald. We're lined up in the shotgun, basically telling on each other.
Right.
Burrow gets harassed, he gets rushed, and Samaje Perine should have caught the ball. That ball was catchable. Championship's on the line, son. Dive out and catch the football.
No, exactly. And if you look at the replay, if you had a little more time, Chase was wide open on the right sideline. I know you saw that too, right?
I saw it this morning, and I was like, Lord Jesus. I mean, literally, if he gets a second and a half more time, we win the Super Bowl.
No,
I mean,
no
it's
doubt.
just it really it's stressful. It's painful. Again, I'm still numb. It hurts.
Well, I hope this
Really
show's
does.
been a little therapeutic for you to, like, talk about it. It's always good to talk about it. So that's why I'm glad you're able to come on and to be able to help you get through this as a therapist a little bit,
Yeah, I mean, thank God for you guys, for allowing me to come on here and just let it all out. I've let it out to my brother. I stayed up to like
Mhm.
12:45 in the morning just venting to my brother after I literally was at a loss for words for 2 hours. But
Yeah.
it's just so freaking just demoralizing. The fact that you were right there, had a championship right there to be had in your grasp, and the fact that you blow it, it's one of the worst feelings you can experience in sports. And I and about go ahead.
No, I'm saying you're almost like you'd rather you got your ass kicked rather than lose by this way.
Not necessarily, the fact that it would be less painful if we got our butts kicked in, but the fact that again you were right there, and it's just
Yeah.
like, and the thing I also don't like about the team is that we'll be back, or I want like that, like I wanted somebody to have that attitude, like I'm pissed off. Yes,
Right.
Caesar success. Nobody expected us to make that, but I'm pissed off because we had a championship on the table. We had a chance to win a Super Bowl championship title, and we left it out, and we pissed down our leg, for lack of a better expression. We
Right.
we we, we blew it, and it's just so freaking frustrating. It really is. And all of a sudden, we'll be back. I guarantee you, Dan Marino thought he was going to be back. What
Right.
about Aaron? What about, and now they won the Super Bowl, but I guarantee Aaron Rodgers was like, man, I'm gonna win about 3, 4, 5 of these. He hadn't
Yeah.
been back since. I guarantee the Eagles thought they were going to be back when they got Carson Wentz healthy.
Yeah.
Did the Falcons ever get back after 28-3? Did
No.
the Panthers ever get back to getting owned by Von Miller in Super Bowl 50? Have the Seahawks ever recovered from the 1 yard line?
Right.
Have they?
Exactly.
Did the 49ers get back in 2013? They lost the NFC Championship game to Seattle, came close, but no cigar.
Right.
I give you many. Did the 49ers make it back last year in 2020?
Right. Exactly.
And firsthand, and I had a front row ticket to this. I know the answer to this question. Did the Chiefs make it back after getting their teeth kicked in by Tampa? The answer is
Right.
no.
Exactly.
Did the '96 Patriots make it back? No, they did not. The '97 Falcons, the '97 Packers, the '98 Falcons make it back? No, they did not. Did the '99 Titans make it back? No, they got upset by the Ravens in their own building. Did the 2000 Giants make it back? The '01 Rams, the '02 Raiders, the
Yeah.
'03 Panthers. I mean, I could be here all night giving you examples.
Yeah. It's
Nothing
hard.
in life and nothing in sports is guaranteed, which is why you have to be able to seize the moment and strike while the iron is hot. And that's the thing
Exactly.
that kills me about this more than anything else, is that I understand a young team, unexpected, but the bottom line is you left the Super Bowl and you left the championship on the table. You just
No.
did, and that's what
No.
sucks. It really
Yeah.
does.
No. It definitely does. It definitely does. Tony, I want to pose this question to you. We're running out of time, but should Cooper have Cup been the MVP? Because there's been talk like Aaron Donald, the way he not only had 2 sacks, but the way he affected the game, he should have been the MVP. And I think I was leaning a little more towards Donald myself at the end. Where were you on that?
Yeah, I agree, and I think that was kind of everybody's general consensus. Because I mean, you think about it, and every major sports show host has talked about it. Aaron Donald is easily a top 5 player in the NFL, not just at his position, in the NFL as a whole. He is a top 5 player. You want to talk about a player that always has to be accounted for, that is always going to do some type of disruption. Sacks wise, has done it all. Is to multiple Pro Bowls, multiple All Pros. The only thing he was missing left was a Super Bowl ring, and
Right.
he finally got it last night. So yeah, I think while Cooper Kupp was he ended up becoming intricate in part of the game plan, because you really think about it, that first half, who was Matt Stafford's main target he was going to? He was going to Odell. It wasn't Cooper.
Right.
He went to Cooper in the second half because Odell was gone, and really that was it. Like Van Jefferson, he's kind of there. The kid from Notre Dame, number 18, Rorick, I think is how you say his name.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, he's your third string guy that, he's okay. He'll get you a catch for a good solid, 4 or 5 yards, but that's about it. So I
And
mean,
their third string tight end was making catches too, because their second
yeah.
string guy who was starting for Higbee got hurt.
Yeah, so I mean, really, it was more okay. Matt's gonna spread the ball more effectively around, and Cooper Cup, he was his end zone target like he has been all year. But yeah, to me, I say it should have been Aaron Donald more. I feel like that would have really kind of completely circled his legacy and cemented it because Cooper's still going to keep playing. There's a lot of speculations that are like, hey, Aaron's done everything he can basically do at this point. He could retire. And he's 30 years
Right.
old, and as a fan of the game, that would absolutely suck to see because he's a once in a generational type talent player. Numbers wise, if he continues to go, he'll be right up there with the likes of Reggie White, LT, Bruce Smith. He may even break one of their records one day, especially with the addition of the 17th game. So to me, yeah, I think Donald should have gotten it personally.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, now that he's got a ring, he's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. He'll definitely go to Canton. He's been in the league 8 years, 7 All Pro teams. I mean, come on, first team All Pro. You can't really beat that type of thing.
And that's the point, Big Dog, that you brought it up. That's the point where there's a mixed message that you're sending, because not with you, but like what I've heard is like, Aaron Donald has accomplished so much. Like you said, he only needed, like you and Tony said, all he needed was a Super Bowl ring. He's accomplished this much in X amount of time. First ballot Hall of Famer. Matthew Stafford kind of hums his way throughout Detroit. Has one excellent season with the Rams, wins Super Bowl, and we put him in the Hall of Fame. So let me get this straight. Aaron Donald, who is compared to and many a times is said to be the best defensive player in the history of the sport, better than LT and all the other games all-time greats, who I don't think he's the greatest player. Definitely you can make them the greatest defensive player in my lifetime. I still hold Ray Lewis number 1 a little bit, but that's me speaking as a native Baltimorean. But hands down, one of the best defensive football players I've ever seen in my lifetime. All the All-Pros, the Pro Bowls, Defensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl champion. Sure, he retires tomorrow. He goes into Canton. Matthew Stafford, sub-500 win-loss record as a quarterback. Hums his way throughout Detroit. Went 0-3 in the playoffs. Now 4-3 in his NFL career for now in the playoffs. Super Bowl championship. Didn't get the MVP, wasn't sensational he played good, wasn't off the charts sensational in the game last night, and we put him in the Hall of Fame. So think about like the wide margin that is. You can either be a transcendent talent, an all-time great, and be compared to the likes of LT will put you in, or you can, have good, everybody likes you. You can have, solid numbers, solid numbers that I look at in a lot of cases in a vacuum, and have one fantastic season coming off of a hellhole for franchise of the Detroit Lions to put you in the Hall of Fame. Which one is it? If we want, me personally, you got to put up the Aaron Donald-esque numbers, regardless of what position you play. You got to put those Aaron Donald-esque numbers to be considered Hall of Famer in my book. I could care less. Especially little no-look passes and all of the and Stat Padford with the extra receiver yards and extra touchdown passes in garbage time. I'm not interested. Bottom line is 4-3 in the post. 4-3 in your NFL career in the playoffs and a sub 500 record, and you've been in the league over a decade plus. We're gonna put you in the Hall of Fame. While we're at it, let's put Matthew Stafford in the Hall of Fame. Put Joe Flacco right after that. Brad Johnson right after him. We'll stick Trent Dilfer in the same class. And by the way, Jeff Hostetler gets a gold jacket. I mean, my goodness gracious! I mean,
they already did it with Joe Namath. Joe Namath has real similar stats: losing record, 1 Super Bowl, and I mean, Joe Namath wasn't really the dude that's like turning people's heads.
The argument with Joe Namath is what he did when he did it with the merger. It was all about the merger at the time because it was the first year it was right before the merger, and his Jets team beat that highly favored Colts team and basically changed the face of football. And that's why Joe got in, because of what that team did for the merger. So that's been the argument about him. That's what they talk about. But yeah, I mean, there's guys all over the hall that only have one ring, and there were stat compilers and all that. I mean, but that's that Hall of Fame discussion is definitely for another show, no doubt. Yeah, we got to go, guys. Tony, thanks for hopping on and thanks for producing as always. Thanks for everything. Jai, man, thanks for coming on, and I'm glad I gave you this opportunity for an hour to just talk about the game and vent and that type of thing. And how much, like 290 days till football season starts, something like that they posted today.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long 290 days, man. I got 4 hours of sleep tonight. And the thing that is, I try to like get over it, like as the day moved along. Like I try to, but then I'm like, all right, so I go ahead and listen to some music, take my mind off of it, and it's like I'm not like in a good enough mood for me to listen to these songs, and it's like, I want to jam out to Eminem and I said, all I did for like the last 2 weeks, like jam out to Pac, Snoop, Dre, Eminem hits, Mary J. And I can't do that because like I hear those songs, I think about the Super Bowl, and I think about so I'm like in that phase where it's like I'm trying to slowly but surely get out of that funk, but like I just can't. I just can't. And I try to I stay away from any commentary of any of the sports shows. The only like sports media I really I digested, quote unquote, was listening to Mad Dog for 3 hours, but it's like it sucks and it really stings. And Tyler Boyd, he's gonna have to live with that catch for a long, long time. I'm not gonna go crazy. I'm not gonna scream and yell my head off because he didn't lose that game for us. It's a catch that he has to have. I mean, you must catch that football. But it was like his first drop in like three, like something ridiculous, like first drop last 3 years. And that's the thing where it's like, and a thought popped into my head. I was like, are the Bengals really cursed because of the ridiculous penalties, the ref ball, defense collapsing at the end, Aaron Donald taking over, Joe Burrow actually getting hurt during the sequence in the fourth quarter of that game, on top Boyd's first catch in like damn near 3 years, just so happens to be one that he's going to be up all night thinking about till training camp. I mean, it makes you sit back as a long suffering, and you've had, it's a great season, successful season nevertheless, but still no Super Bowl. I still got to hear the jokes of the Bungles never won this, Bungles never won that. Their trophy case is empty. No Lombardis. 0-3 in Super Bowl. I still got to hear that. I still got to put up with it. And yeah, it's a great season, but bottom line is you weren't the ones hoisting up the Vince Lombardi trophy. The Rams were. And, Tyler Boyd has to live with Jackie Smith had to live with in Super Bowl 13 and had to live with Wes Welker, what Wes Welker had to deal with when he dropped the pass in the second Patriot-Giant Super Bowl and the Super Bowl 46. So he'll get over it. He's going to have to live with it for the rest of his life. I pray to God that he and the boys can right their wrongs. Listen, I want them to be back next year. But do I think it's going to be likely that they'll be back next year? Honestly, not me being a hater or me or me being negative Nancy. It's just got to be realistic. The AFC is a damn gauntlet, and it's no guarantee that they're going to make it back. I mean, they had to bust their ass just to get to this game, and making it back to this game, dealing with the scars of how they lost this game, it's going to be difficult, especially when they have to go through the hungry teams. The hungry teams that they had to go through this past season, a tougher schedule as a division, winning the division this year. Got to play Kansas City again. Ravens going to be hungry, and then even teams that aren't even on their schedule that are going to be competing for playoff spots, such as the Patriots. They play Buffalo this year, I believe, from the top. So it's like, it is difficult, and that's why you got to seize the opportunity to strike while iron is hot, because nothing in sports is guaranteed. I guarantee you, Marino thought he was going to get the more than one Super Bowl in the second season. He never got back.
No, exactly. Well, everyone, tune in to Jai's podcast this week. It's going to be much more of this stuff. It's going to be intense. It's going to be amazing. You're going to hear more of the passion that he brings every week. Next week, we got a special interview with radio host Bruce Wawrzyniak from CatholicSportsRadio.net. So that should be interesting. And we'll move on to a little bit of basketball. We'll talk a little bit more leftover football next week. And hopefully maybe they'll have a baseball settlement. We'll hopefully have some spring training stuff to talk about. But thank you, Jai. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we will see everybody next week. Peace out.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making the plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.